and Grill. Quest 2444-POOL. Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Nice looking day. Hope you are doing well. This past Saturday, quite by coincidence, Robert and I went down to St. Petersburg. We had actually gone down there because we hadn't ever seen Sunken Gardens, which this is not a Sunken Gardens segment. This is a baseball segment. What happened is when you go to Sunken Gardens, it doesn't take all day to see this thing. It's kind of a small thing and basically it's gardens. So then we had something else to do or more time to do something else. So we went over to the pier, and if you're familiar with the pier, it's closed because they're redoing it, but there's a museum there, and it's the Museum of Autographed Baseballs. And we went in there, and it's like, wow, it's funny the things you find, when you kind of just walking around. And as you walk around this Museum of Autographed Baseballs, of course, there's the signatures from the baseball players themselves, but there's also signatures from like movie stars, and even Walt Disney had one that was signed, one ball that was signed by him. It is interesting to note that we, as when you say baseball is the America's sport, this is baseball, apple pie, how that all goes. And Chevrolet, I think, was the third thing. But it is interesting how important of a role baseball has played in our culture. Left on Base in the Bush Leagues is the book we want to talk about right now. Gaylon White wrote this book. He's been with us before. Legends, Near Greats, and Unknowns in the Minors. And I think this goes back to the 1940s. I think. Let's find out from Gaylon White. Good morning, Gaylon. It's good to have you on the show with us again. Gaylon, are you there? I don't hear anybody. Gaylon, are you there? No? Okay, maybe I did something wrong here. Gaylon, can you hear me? Gaylon? Okay. Something must have been disconnected there. All right, I'm kind of by myself here, so I don't have a way of doing this and not making the sound over the phone. So, Gaylon, are you there?
I am here, Larry. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Okay, could you hear me that whole time?
I could hear you the whole time. I don't know what planet I'm on.
All right. Well, good to have you back. Yeah, did you hear my little spiel about the museum we found down in St. Pete?
I sure did. Yeah, you can find baseball anywhere, can't you?
It was an amazing thing, and it makes you realize how important that sport is to us as Americans.
Well, of course, its nickname is National Pastime.
Yeah.
But what I found out in doing this latest book, Left on Base in the Bush Leagues, that where it's really the national pastime is in the small towns of America, not in the big cities. And the reason I say that is that at the high point of the minor leagues in 1949, there were 59 leagues scattered throughout the country, and 443 clubs, towns, had teams, whereas in the majors, you had only 16 teams, and they were 11 of those 16 teams were in 5 cities on the East Coast. So when you talk about baseball being a national pastime, the reason are the small towns.
And that makes sense. We had a story this morning about the Little League team that got the attention of the president.
Yes. Well, back in are you referring to 1957, the Monterrey, Mexico team?
No, I was referring to this morning, the news this morning about President Trump actually inviting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's precedence to that because in 1957, Monterrey, Mexico, a true Cinderella story, won the Little League World Series and was invited by President Eisenhower to the White House. And in fact, there's a movie about the.
Gaylon, you dropped out again. Are you there? Oh my gosh, why does that happen? Gaylon, can you hear me? All right. So we're talking to Gaylon White. Gaylon, if you can hear me, we don't hear you right now. Gaylon, I don't even know where he is exactly. He's at another planet. His book is called Left on Base in the Bush Leagues. I don't even really know what defines a bush league. So hopefully he'll be on with us in a second. I did find the book on Amazon. It's getting really good reviews. Obviously, Gaylon is a sports writer, and he understands the importance of these things to us. The Amazon listing says it talks about how what Gaylon was just telling us, that at the high point for the minor leagues, there were 59 leagues in 464 cities with teams. Gaylon, are you there? Oh my gosh. Isn't this something else? I don't know if I should maybe call him back or do something different. Let me give that a shot. I'm going to try to call him back. So I'll just let you hear the sound. This is live radio, right? All right, because it's kind of embarrassing when the phone doesn't work. So just let me do this little thing here. You're going to hear me calling him. This is what happens. You know, there's nobody here. Let me do this. And go. 4 more numbers. Right? Okay, I made a mistake. Okay. I think that's this number. Okay, 0. Sorry. See if I can get it back on. Jeez. Okay. There we go. See if we can get him now.
You are trying to reach has not set up voicemail on 423.
Oh my God.
323 0341.
Well,
to send a message to another subscriber, enter the area code and phone number of the person you are trying to reach.
Oh my God.
Or press.
Stop it. Let me try again. I don't know what to do about this. Let's see. Okay. Should I put like Inagata DeVita on or something while I do this? Something that takes a while to play? I got hammering next door. Sledgehammers or something. And the phone's not working the proper way. Oh my gosh. This is great radio, right? This looks like listening to live radio. Let's try it now. Okay, hopefully he answers. Wow.
Gaylon White.
Gaylon, oh my gosh, I don't know what happens, but the phone, you just went dead there, so I apologize.
Yeah, I lost you. I heard you, and then I lost you, and it's still a little faint on my end. I'm not sure what's going on. Let me try another receiver here. Hang on.
Okay, see if it helps.
Is it any better now?
Oh yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, let's try that.
All right. So one of the questions I had was, first of all, congratulations. The book is doing really well on Amazon, which is always good. When did the book come out? Can you hear me? Did we lose you again? Gaylon? Oh, my gosh. Gaylon, are you there? Oh, the book came out in May.
Hey, honey, how do you hit redial?
You're there, Gaylon. I can hear you now.
I'm here.
Yeah, okay. The phones are just messing up. So the book came out back in May. And I noticed you're getting really good reviews on Amazon. But
Yes.
Can you explain what a bush league is?
Yeah, the term bush or bushers came out of the writings of Ring Lardner. In 1916, he wrote a classic called You Know Me, Al, and every chapter in the book has some reference to busher. And essentially, it was players who were in the lower minors and in the small towns, the bushes as they referred to them. And so there were, in fact, in 1949, there was something like, there was 189 Class D leagues. Now, in minor leagues at that time, they had kind of a hierarchy. They went all the way from AAA down to Class D as in dog. The lettering had little to do with the quality of the teams. It had less to do with the quality of teams than the size of the towns where these teams were located. So a Class D team would be in the smallest of towns. Then you'd move on up to C, B, A, AA, AAA.
Okay.
So,
okay.
As I was saying earlier, in 1949 there were 463 clubs in the minors.
And in the book, we're actually getting to know some of the players from those leagues, right?
Yes. What I wanted to do with this book was really talk about the players as people, not just as legends as they were in many cases. I've always been fascinated by this line between success and failure. So what is it that keeps a guy who's been great in the minor leagues? What keeps him from succeeding in the majors if, in fact, he gets there? And one of the players who fascinated me was Joe Bauman, a fellow who had 72 home runs in 1954 at Roswell, New Mexico, and that's an all-time record. It was a record until Barry Bonds hit 73 in 2001. Well, Joe Bauman played in Class C, and he, during the day, would pump gas at his Texaco service station.
Oh, wow.
And at night, he would pump balls over the fence. So I was just interested in Joe Bauman, for example, and also because he did it in Roswell, New Mexico, which is, of course, well known for UFOs.
So what is the thing that kept them back? And was it always the ambition of the player to reach the major leagues, or is that more of a new thing?
Well, most of them, of course, wanted to make it to the majors. That's the ultimate goal. But the reality is that in the majors at that time, the major league minimum salary was $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000 in that range. So, several of these guys were practical. Joe Bauman was a very practical man, a very independent man, and he looked at the majors and saw what they were making. And he's in the minors in Roswell, New Mexico, much lower cost of living than, let's say, one of the big cities, and he was making a pretty good monthly salary, and then every time he hit a home run, they had a tradition called picking the fences. That meant that fans, to show their appreciation, would stick $1, $5, $10 bills through the screen.
Oh, wow.
Well, on the night that Joe broke the record in Artesia, New Mexico, which he had played there before, fans stuck $800 through the screen. Well, in today's dollars, that's $8,000. So wow. Joe did pretty well picking the fences.
So was the time commitment greater if you were in the major leagues? In other words, you're putting more time into it, but making not as much money as maybe you could even in the minor leagues?
Well, I don't know there was so much a time commitment. Many of these guys, there's another fellow also from Roswell, New Mexico, who I write about, Tom Jordan Sr., and it's his son who led the Roswell minor league team the Little League team to the Little League World Series in '56. Well, Tom played for 3 different major league teams. In each case, he returned home to Roswell to work his ranch. He made more money on his ranch, plus he wanted to continue playing baseball, which he did for 18 seasons in the minors. And by playing in the minors, he was closer to home, closer to his ranch.
Okay, so it was kind of that's probably the case for a lot of people that don't go to what's considered the more prestigious level of a career.
Well, yeah, there was a fellow named Frosty Kennedy. One season in 1956 at Plainview, Texas, he hit 60 home runs, and he explained to people that he made more money in the minors, plus he was treated to dinner and drinks wherever he played. And he had this quote. He says, "I was a king in the minor leagues. Why go up to the majors and be just a spear carrier?"
Be a what?
Be a spear carrier.
Oh.
In other words, carry spears.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. What was the racial divide as prevalent in the minor leagues as it was in the major leagues?
Yes. In fact, the cover of the book was taken at Dodgertown in 1948. That was a Life magazine cover in April 1948, and it shows 515 rookies looking up at the camera. There's 2 things that are significant about that photo. One is all of them are white. The other significance of that shot is how many there are. This was just in the Dodgers farm club.
Wow.
Farm system. So the competitiveness plus, of course, the racial mix at that time, it was predominantly white. Jackie had broken the color barrier in the majors the year before in '47. That would, of course, soon change in the minors, but it changed very slowly, particularly in the South. You had a lot of minor league teams in the South at that time. In Florida alone in 1949, they had 18 teams. North Carolina had 42.
Wow.
Texas had 41. So
wow.
Some of these small towns in those states were a little slow to integrate.
And were does the book cover the World War II years?
Yes, the period I focus on is the post-World War II, leading up to baseball's first expansion in 1961. And the reason I choose that era is because of the competitiveness, and also I wanted to kind of get into the culture. What was the culture, not only of the game, but the culture in the United States? And because these leagues reflected the culture of the area that they were located. Many of the players, of course, a lot of Southern players, particularly at that time, you didn't have the competition from basketball, or pro football. So it was essentially pro baseball. Your best athletes went in the baseball. So it was highly competitive. It was, of course, the environment in these small towns had a lot to do whether a guy succeeded or not. And, of course, in the majors, some of your major league teams did not integrate until late in the 50s, the Boston Red Sox being the last of them.
Is that right? Wow, that is interesting. One of the reviewers on Amazon, 5-star reviews across the board, by the way. That's everybody who's read it so far and left a review. One of them sounds like he himself was in the minor leagues. Brandon Rose, are you familiar with him?
Yeah, I know Brandon quite well. He follows me on Twitter, and we've had a few conversations. Brandon grew up in El Paso, Texas. At least a lot of his childhood was in Texas. And I had a friend tell me one time, the best era of baseball is when we're kids. And I believe that's true. I grew up in Los Angeles. I went to a lot of games with my father and my brother at Wrigley Field in L.A. There was a Wrigley Field in L.A., actually. And I remember those times fondly, keeping score with my father. That was something special, how we'd keep a scorecard. And there was a bonding that took place at baseball games. And so those were minor league games that I saw growing up because I was born in 46. The Dodgers came out in 1958. So up until 12 years old, I was watching minor league teams. And Brandon, I know, grew up in El Paso. He is from Florida, by the way. He lives in Florida. And he followed the El Paso teams. He's read this book, obviously. And he had a number of interesting comments on La Mesa, Texas, which I write about in the book, as well as Big Spring, Texas.
Mm-hmm. You know, Saturday, when we went to that baseball museum, we happened to be curious about the prices for spring training. And we looked them up, and they were already selling tickets for next year's spring training games, which and they're not cheap. Some of them are like $100 just to watch spring training. As popular as that is, and as willing as people are to pay, a good price for a ticket for a spring training game, you'd think they would see more. Like Ocala doesn't have a team. I wonder if it ever did. Do you know?
I'm not sure about Ocala. All around that area, though, I know they had it. I know they had a team in Daytona Beach and some other towns. I don't have a listing of them right now, but basically, if a town had a bank, they had a minor league club, and the two biggest events, one writer said, was the robbery of the bank or the winning of the pennant by the team. So,
does the college level baseball maybe serve as a substitute? Because I know a lot of people around here go to the Gator baseball games up in Gainesville.
Yeah, it does now, Larry. At that time, though, in the period that I'm writing about, college baseball, there was college baseball, but it wasn't nearly as high a level as the minor league teams. You had, of course, in these lower minors, you had both the young players and then the veteran players. And many of these guys came out of World War II, and they had not been able to play baseball during the war. And obviously they had a lot of talent, and they would typically find teams they could play for. So there were some older players. Joe Bauman, when he hit 72 home runs in 1954, he was over 30 years old. Joe, there's a player who played in Savannah, Al Pinkston. I write about him in the book. And Al Pinkston was a black player. Of course, he didn't get into organized baseball until 1950, I believe it was. But Joe Pinkston won the batting title in Savannah in 1954, the year after Hank Aaron won the batting title. And Al Pinkston lowered his age by 9 years. Everybody thought he was 26 when he was actually 36. And he continued playing until he was 48 years old.
Oh, wow.
And during that time, he won 6 batting titles. which in different leagues. So, and he's in the Mexican Baseball Hall of Fame. So most people have not heard of Al Pinkston, but his is a very fascinating story. He actually lowered his age 9 years. And one of his managers said, well, he just forgot to count them.
and the ladies that played baseball, are they considered the minor leagues also, or was that something completely different?
As a matter of fact, Al Pinkston played with a woman named Toni Stone, and Toni Stone, I believe there's been a book written about her, and she's a very talented woman. She played with some of the black barnstorming teams, and ran across one photograph where Toni Stone was pictured with Joe Louis, and they were both called heavy hitters. But yeah, they wouldn't no. In terms of what the book is, Left on Base in the Bush Leagues, they would not be in that category. They kind of, as the movie about them said, a league of their own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Always fun to talk to you, Gaylon. I am so sorry about the phone issues earlier. I don't know what happened there, but it worked out okay. For everybody else, the book I found on Amazon. Gaylon, do you have a website you'd like to direct us to?
Yes, GaylonWhite.com. And if you go to that website, click on orders, and there'll be information on how your listeners can get a 30% discount. It reduces the price from $36 down to $25.20, and they can get it from the publisher, Roman, ROWMAN, and Littlefield. But go to the GaylonWhiteBaseball.com, click on orders, and they'll have all the ordering information they need.
And I think you just got another review, too. Six now. 6 reviews, 5 stars across the board. Left on Base in the Bush Leagues is the name of the book. Gaylon spells his name Gaylon. We have a Gaylon in the morning who spells it EN, so I just want to clarify that for the listeners. Gaylon White, always good to have you on. Robin is, I'm sure, going to be disappointed she missed you. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Larry, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome, and we'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Direct Connect to UCF, where students who attend the College of Central Florida and graduate with an AA or articulated AS degree are guaranteed admission to the University of Central Florida. Success coaches are ready and waiting to assist you in designing an educational plan that is right for you in any of their locations across Central Florida. Remember, connecting is easy and guaranteed. Find out more at directconnecttoucf.com.
With a graduate degree in management and leadership from Webster University, there'll never be a better time for you to explore what's next in your career. Classes are scheduled so you can continue your normal workday routine, and the accelerated program means a new term starts about every 10 weeks. If you're looking to gain a broad general management and leadership perspective, then Webster University's Management and Leadership degree program is the right one for you. It's all a part of what's next at Webster University.
Go to webster.edu/manage, accredited by ACBSP.
Ocala Business Leaders Incorporated is a group of independent local firms providing a wide range of quality goods and services. Each firm strives to maintain the highest level of professional integrity and 100% customer satisfaction. When you're looking for goods and services, call a member of the Ocala Business Leaders, and we are confident you will be pleased with the results. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Ocala Business Leaders, join us at the Ocala Elks Lodge, 25th Avenue in Ocala, any Wednesday at 7 a.m. and enjoy a breakfast on us. For more information, check OcalaBusinessLeaders.com.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. President Trump says the Chinese government wants to end our trade dispute and that we're closer to a deal.
And I don't think you could have gotten here without having to go through this process. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think we're probably in a stronger position now to do a deal.